Hey, good morning. Today I'll be presenting the analysis on a strategic decision facing 12th strike, whether to continue offshore manufacturing in China or reshore production back to the United States. 12th strike is a US-based bowling ball manufacturer, and currently its production is in fully offshore in China. In recent years, however, the company has faced increasing challenges like tariffs, long lead times, and supply chain disruptions. So, the objective of this case is simple but critical to determine the most cost effective and resilient manufacturing strategy going forward. The problem statement. At the core of this case is a single decision, right? So, should 12th strike continue offshore production in China or reshore manufacturing back to the United States? Offshore production has created several operational challenges like long and unpredictable lead times, tariff exposure, uh, port congestions, and shipping delays, and ultimately the risk of missed sales due to stockout periods. This decision must be made data driven, cost justified, and sustainable in the long term. We started by understanding the true cost of each option. For example, for China, we calculated the total landed cost, which includes production, packaging, shipping, tariffs, inventory carrying goods, costs, loss in damages. This resulted in China total landed cost of $26.96 per unit. For the US, we calculated the cost per unit excluding the facility cost, which includes materials, labor, packaging. This came to around $22.64 per unit. The key takeaway is the cost gap here. So it's $4.31 per unit. This gap represents the room available to absorb US facility cost while remaining cost competitive. Next, we asked a practical question: how expensive can a US facility be before reshoring stops making sense? Right, so we performed a break-even analysis. The results show a monthly break-even facility cost comes around $20,000, 538 to be precise, and annualized is around $246,457. So in simple terms, if a 12th strike can operate a US facility below this threshold, reshoring becomes cost neutral or even cheaper than offshoring. At the same time, this allows the company to reduce supply chain risk without increasing the total cost. Um, we came up with multiple scenarios, and one of the scenarios is like wage growth scenarios. Cost decision doesn't exist in a static world, so we looked at future wage trends. We modeled a realistic scenario by having China wages increased by 11% and US wages increased by 3%. So under this scenario, China's landed cost rises to $27.70 per unit, and US cost excluding the facility rises to $23.05 per unit. The cost gap widens from $4.31 to $4.64 per unit. This tells us that over time, reshoring becomes more attractive, not less. And another scenario where we calculated was tariff escalation. So we also stress tested a strategy under extreme plausible scenario. For example, the current tariff on the finished goods is 8%. We modeled a scenario where the tariff can rise up to 50%. So while the other costs remain unchanged, these are our assumptions, right? So in that case, China's cost of finished good base would be around $20.75 per unit. And the tariff impact at 8%, it was $1.66 per unit. At 50%, it rises to $10.38 per unit. This increases China's total landed cost from 26.96 approximately to $35.70 per unit. The strategic implications is clear. Offshore cost advantage is eliminated. Break-even facility threshold increases significantly. So, reshoring becomes the clearly superior option under high tariff risk. So, what are the supply chain risk comparisons? So, cost alone doesn't tell the full story, right? Risk also matters. So, offshoring risks include long and unpredictable lead times, port congestions and custom delays, traffic volatility, high inventory and carrying costs, missed sales due to stockout periods. And in reshoring risks alone include higher fixed facility costs, domestic labor availability. The key insights offshore risks impact revenue and service levels, while reshoring risks are more controllable and predictable. So we used two toolboxes, namely Porter's five forces as well as Pestle to strengthen a strategic perspective. So we use these toolbox frameworks. For example, Porter's five forces shows that supplier power is high offshore due to the reliance on overseas manufacturers and logistics. Buyer power increases when customer face delays, right? And substitution risks rises when products aren't available. And competitive rivalry rewards speed and reliability. And with Pestle analysis, it highlights the political and economic factors. Tariffs and wage inflation increase offshore risk. Technological improvements reduce US labor disadvantages. Environmental and legal factors favor shorter, simpler supply chains. So together, these tools reinforce that manufacturing location affects competitive positioning and not just costs. We evaluated three strategic options, right? So one is continue full offshoring and full reshoring to back to the United States, and another option is phased dual track strategy. So first, continue full offshoring. So low short-term labor cost, but high exposure to tariffs and disruptions. Rejected risks due to risk concentration, and full reshoring, maximum control and resilience, high fixed cost commitment, and risky if demand fluctuates. So, and the phase dual strategy is it balances both cost, risk, and flexibility. So, our final recommendation is to take the best of both worlds, right? We recommend phase dual track reshoring strategy, reshoring approximately 15% of the production and maintain 85% offshore production initially. This approach reduces supply chain risks, improves responsiveness, protects service levels, and preserves for cost flexibility. Here's how the implementation roadmap would be. Here's how we have strategized to this plan to be executed. Phase one, within the first year, 0 to 12 months, secure a US facility within the break-even threshold, pilot domestic production for fast-moving SKUs. Phase two, that is 1 to 3 years, scale US production based on the performance, then monitor tariffs, wages, and demand volatility. And phase three, 5 to 8 years, gradually increase the domestic share toward full reshoring, maintain global and domestic raw material sourcing. So to conclude, when the total landed cost, risks, and future trends are considered, reshoring is financially viable, strategically stronger, and more resilient for 12 strike. But the final takeaway, the winning strategy is not choosing offshore or reshore as an option. It's building the ability to shift production as conditions change. And yeah, so this is our final